Welcome back to the channel. My name's Brian Kingsbury. Today we're going to do another Brian Reads the News segment. This one brought to us by MSN.com. 70s norms now banned. This one's titled 14 Normal Habits from the 70s that are illegal now. The 1970s were more dangerous than any war zone for American children. Kids routinely played on railroad tracks, handled dangerous toys that shattered into weapons, and inhaled secondhand smoke everywhere. The average home contained at least 5 products now banned for causing cancer or developmental harm. These risks were completely legal and widely accepted. The first norm we're going to talk about is playing on railroad tracks. Kids turned railroad tracks into dangerous playgrounds back in the 70s. They'd balance, walk rails, dodge trains, and throw rocks at moving locomotives like it was a game. Now, you'll get slapped with fines up to $1,000 in some states for trespassing on railroad property. The freedom kids had back then seems insane today. Trains can't stop quickly, a fact that somehow people ignored until Operation Lifesaver program started in 1972, hammering home the brutal reality of physics. What was once childhood adventure is now properly recognized as a death wish. The next norm we're going to read about is red dye number 2 panic. Red candies vanished from stores when red dye number 2 got linked to cancer. The FDA banned it in 1976, causing absolute chaos for food manufacturers. Mars freaked out and stopped using red dyes entirely, afraid consumers would boycott their products. The panic wasn't just about red stuff. People worried the chemical lurked into everything. Mass recalls followed as manufacturers scrambled to reformulate. Red 40 eventually took its place in the US, though interestingly, some countries still allow red dye number 2 with restrictions. The next 70s norm that is now illegal is flame retardants in clothing and furniture. Vintage textiles that collectors obsess over, many are loaded with tris, a potent flame retardant widely used in the 70s. The chemical was pumped onto children's sleepwear until 1977 when someone finally noticed it caused cancer. Tris showed how everyday items could secretly harbor serious dangers. Modern regulations try to balance fire safety with not poisoning everyone, but the legacy of those chemicals still sits in many homes, especially in old furniture gathering dust. Some states have since banned certain flame retardants altogether. The next norm from the 70s that is now illegal is kids buying cigarettes. No ID? No problem in the 70s. Children routinely bought cigarettes for their parents with 0 age restrictions. Stores would sell to literally anyone with money. Kids would walk in with a note, quote, "Please give my son a pack of Marlboros," and walk out with cancer sticks. Today, nobody under 21 can legally buy cigarettes, with huge penalties for retailers that break the rule. What used to be a normal chore for kids would now trigger a CPS investigation. The shift comes from decades of research showing how early smoking access leads to addiction. The next norm from the 70s that is now illegal are dangerous fun of clackers. Before fidget spinners, we had clackers. If fidget spinners regularly shattered into face-slicing shrapnel, these toys featured 2 acrylic balls on a string that kids would swing to create a satisfying clack sound. The FDA banned them in 1971 after countless kids ended up with the welts, bruises, and eye injuries from the exploding balls. Modern toy safety standards would never allow something so obviously dangerous, but back then the risk was just part of the fun. Today's collectors hunt for these banned toys, now considered vintage treasures. Discover more forgotten 1970s toys that define childhood. The next norm from the 70s that is now illegal are cyclamates in diet sodas. Ever wonder why diet sodas taste different in other countries? Blame the cyclamate ban. These artificial sweeteners were everywhere in the 70s diet drinks until studies linked them to bladder cancer in rats. The US banned cyclamates in 1969, forcing drink manufacturers to reformulate. Many countries still allow them, creating weird taste differences when you drink the same branded soda abroad. The science remains controversial. Cyclamates are 30 to 50 times sweeter than sugar and stable under heat, making them ideal for cooking, which explains the ongoing debate about their reapproval in the US. The next norm from the 70s that is now illegal are cigarette ads on TV. Turning on the TV in the early 70s meant watching a non-stop cigarette commercial parade. These ads glamorized smoking with cool cowboys and sophisticated models, deliberately targeting young viewers with celebrity endorsements. A 1971 ban killed cigarette ads on TV and radio, dramatically shifting public health strategy. Looking at these old ads now shows how radically attitudes have changed. Imagery that once seemed normal now looks like a death cult recruitment video. The ban made a turning point in tobacco control efforts, though companies just shifted their tactics to other media. The next norm from the 70s that is now illegal is smoking on airplanes. Picture yourself trapped in a metal tube filled with smoke for hours. Welcome to air travel in the 70s. Airlines had smoking sections, which worked out about as well as having a peeing section in a pool. Non-smokers had no choice but to breathe the secondhand smoke throughout their journey. Bans started in the 80s, and by 2000, smoking was prohibited on all US flights. Now it's universally banned on commercial flights globally. Beyond the obvious health benefits, removing the fire hazard from pressurized cabins seems like a no-brainer in retrospect. The next norm from the 70s that is now illegal are lead-based paint. Owners of pre-1970s homes got a hidden poison as a bonus feature, lead paint. It appeared everywhere, valued for its durability, vibrant colors, and smooth finish. Nobody worried much about the brain damage it caused, especially in children. The US finally banned lead paint for residential use in 1978. Now, renovating old houses requires specialized procedures that can cost thousands. What was once standard home decor is now considered hazardous waste requiring professional handling. The EPA and CDC continue to fight the legacy of lead paint in older housing. The next norm from the 70s that is now illegal are lawn darts. Remember when we gave children weighted spears as toys? Lawn darts were essentially metal javelins that families casually tossed around their backyards. Each dart weighing about 12 ounces with a sharp metal tip that could pierce a skull. After numerous injuries and some fatalities, they were banned in the US in 1988. Modern versions use soft materials instead of metal spikes because somehow we needed the government to tell us not to give children deadly weapons as toys. Original versions have become collector's items, a deadly memorabilia from a more cavalier era. The next norm from the 70s that is now illegal are candy cigarettes. Young kids practiced for future addiction with candy cigarettes. Chalky sugar sticks packed to look exactly like real cigarettes. They even came in boxes mimicking actual cigarette brands. These candies normalize smoking for children, serving as trial runs for the real thing. While still illegal in the US with marketing restrictions, they're completely banned in countries like Brazil and Ireland. Research has suggested these seemingly innocent treats might actually increase the likelihood of future tobacco use. The next norm from the 70s that is now illegal are leaded gasoline. Every car on the road once pumped lead directly into the air with each mile driven. Leaded gas was standard in the 70s, praised for boosting engine performance and reducing engine knock while quietly poisoning everyone. The US began phasing it out in 1973, finally banning it completely by 1996. The resulting drop in environmental lead levels correlates with decreased crime rates and higher IQs. Turns out not pumping neurotoxins into the air was a good move. Some small aircraft still use leaded aviation fuel, but even that's being phased out. The next norm from the 70s that is now illegal are high school smoking areas. Would you believe high schools actually had designated smoking areas for students during the 70s? Teenagers openly smoked between classes with teachers' full knowledge and school approval. Modern schools ban smoking everywhere on campus. The idea of schools setting aside space specifically for teens to smoke now seems completely insane, but it was standard practice back then. This dramatic shift emerged from our evolving understanding of how smoking in schools contradicted health education and normalized a deadly habit. And finally, the final norm from the 70s that is now illegal are the original Easy Bake Oven. Dangerous by design, the original Easy Bake Oven used a standard 100-watt incandescent light bulb as its heating element, reaching temperatures that regularly burn kids. Parents bought these potential fire hazards without a second thought. Introduced in 1963 by popular throughout the 70s, the toy went through multiple recalls and redesigns after reports of burns and injuries. Modern versions have replaced the dangerous bulb with safer heating mechanisms. The casual approach to child safety in the 70s toys would never pass modern regulations, but back then a few burns were just part of growing up. Alright, there you have it, 14 normal habits from the 70s that are illegal now. Let me know what you guys think about this article in the comments section. And if you enjoyed this article, please take a second to give it a like. You can do that now. And if you really enjoy this content, consider subscribing to the channel.